maybe not in the moment.
And see, again, the lower part of his, the first half of his report said that they are slightly more racist towards black people when it comes to low priority crimes, not non-violent crimes or whatever. But is it because they're black? More black people, unarmed black people, get killed by the cops than white people. I mean, there's more white people, but per capita, you know what I mean? Because say there's 12 black people a year, say 24 white people. There's more white people killed, but there's 60% of the population is white and only 13.5 is black. So more black people per capita. But maybe the reason why is because they do 50% of the murders and 80% of the violent crimes. Maybe that's why they're getting killed. And it has nothing to do with skin color. Just like this low-level crap. Maybe has nothing to do with skin color. It just has to do with most black people act like they're oppressed every time they get pulled over by a cop. They act like they're the victim even though they're doing something bad. Maybe that's why it seems like the cops are being more hard on black people because of racism, but it's not. They're being more hard on black people because most black people have been indoctrinated into this victim ideology, which forces them to become black supremacist. Okay? Maybe they're getting treated badly more on the low level, non-violent stuff because they are acting like black supremacists. Maybe that's why, and it has nothing to do with racism, the white cop being racist. Do you ever think of that?
But I didn't go to Harvard to have Chardonnay at 10:30 in the morning. I just don't want it. It's not my thing. And it's okay if it's someone else's thing. It's just not my thing. I I went there to make a difference. Truly, I know that sounds naive to many of you. But as I tell my students, remember when you came to Harvard, you had lofty dreams of changing the world. It wasn't downside risk protection. Right? Everybody I know who I've seen walk through those ivy doors rocks the boat until they get in the boat, and then they say, steady now. I rocked the boat until I got in the boat, and I said, let's see how fast we can go. And I've fallen out the boat, got run over by the boat. It is what it is. But you got to be for something. Right? And so I actually don't understand those other people. I don't know what they're maximizing.
This is he doesn't understand. What it is he has honor. He has morals. These other people have no honor whatsoever. None.
That should have been the president at Harvard, not that whack job woke lady that they ended up with. If the media covered the shootings of white people the same way they covered the shootings of black people, you would think that there was a crisis of police attacking whites, like a war on whites. But right now what we have is a war on cops because of the media and the way they portray them and this false racial narrative. Roland.
They did the same thing with COVID. If we went out today, right, and everyone that got the flu, right, everyone went to the hospital, they got tested for the flu, and if you got in a car accident and you died, we tested to see if you had flu. Everyone has flu. It's every virus, just like COVID, flu, whatever. Everyone has it. It's like air, okay? It's just most people don't show symptoms. But if you went around like they did with COVID and you started testing everyone that died, everyone that goes into the hospital, you just tested them to see if they had the flu, even though they had no symptoms whatsoever, you would think that there was some kind of, everyone was just dying from the flu and it was just an epidemic. But there was no epidemic with the COVID. Someone died in a car accident, they took the COVID test, and if they had COVID, they counted it as a COVID death. Went into the hospital for a broken arm, they tested them for COVID. Even though they had no signs of COVID, if they had COVID, they marked them down. Oh, this guy got hospitalized for COVID, even though he just went in for a broken arm and left.
One talks about the Michael Brown Ferguson shooting and the false hands up, don't shoot narrative that happened, that triggered riots. This was in 2014 across the country. And in 2015 and 2016, we saw the largest 2-year increase in homicides in 50 years. That was because cops were not getting out of their cars. They were becoming passive and merely reacting to crime after the fact, rather than trying to intervene in they see suspicious behavior or something of the sorts. And so you had a situation where crime in the inner city and inner city neighborhoods took another 2,000 black lives in 2015 and then again in 2016. Following the death of George Floyd, what was George Floyd's death? 2020? That caused even more brutal, even more archaic destruction, riots across the country, attacks on law enforcement officers, destruction of police property, destruction of the very symbol of law and order that we have in the country, the courthouses, police precincts, police cars, businesses were torched to the ground. 2020 saw the largest percentage increase in homicides in the nation's history.
And what's funny is black people will champion pedophiles, rapists, murderers, and say, you can't put our murderers and our rapists in prison. Don't do that. And then they complain and say that the white man is keeping down our neighborhoods because they have so many rapists and murderers in their neighborhood. Well, maybe if you stop saying my people, and when you say my people, you include all black people, okay? White people never say that. Well, I never heard a white person say, a white person always says, my people are people who share my values. White pedophiles are not part of my people, okay? I'm white. White murderers and rapists and pedophiles, they are not my people, okay? And that's why white people lock these people up in their neighborhoods. And they don't have to worry about rapists and murderers and stuff like that, okay? But what do black people do? They say, no, my people got black skin. That includes all the rapists and pedophiles. I want all the rapists and pedophiles in my neighborhood never to be locked up. And then they complain that it's the white man is why they got rapists and murderers in their neighborhood. Snitches get stitches. Everyone that's been in a black neighborhood knows this saying. Oh, it's basically what the saying is, I love rapists and murderers in my neighborhood. That's what that saying is saying.
And in 2021 was even worse than 2020. We learned all over again, and still learning today, that when you emasculate law enforcement, when you tell them that they're racist, they're going to get the message that policing is political. When cops are in high crime neighborhoods trying to save lives, and you're going to accuse them of racism, when they are the government institution, they are dedicated to Black Lives Mattering. They're the ones that save black lives, police officers. But they're doing less because of this. And who pays the price? Law-abiding residents of high-crime communities who are overwhelmingly black themselves. The lesson learned from what a lot of people call the Ferguson effect. Man, policing matters. The left doesn't like talking about the real data on crime. And we know this. And if you talk about the real cause of crime, saying that, listen, cops are not out there killing black people are out there killing black people. More black people are killed through these insane drive-by shootings than anything else. But if you mention that, you're accused of being a white supremacist.
You know that a person is brainwashed when they care more about a white guy killing a black guy, a single black guy, but they don't give a shit. They literally laugh at you when you bring it up, that thousands every year black people are getting killed by other black people. They laugh at it. They don't even care. They have zero heart. Their racism and hate is so much that they don't even give a crap that thousands of black people are being murdered every year. Because they're not being murdered by white people. They only care about that one piece of shit, that one piece of garbage, that one rapist murderer who got shot by a white cop. That's the only thing they care about because they are so racist. They don't care about anything else.
This phantom police racism that they like to talk about, when there's like 24 blacks being killed in drive-by shootings every single day, again, not by cops, being killed by other blacks. You have kids spraying with bullets neighborhoods in retaliation for some imaginary gang gripe or imaginary diss that they would have had. To the leftist media, this doesn't matter because it is disproportionately committed by blacks. If it was committed by a white person, you would for sure hear about it. The same way you don't hear about if, a young boy is beaten up by a black gang or something.
There's millions, okay, probably not millions, thousands and thousands of videos online on, showing in public schools, in just out in the neighborhood, a gang of, they're not really a gang, okay, they're just a bunch of kids, you know what I mean, but a gang of black kids beating up on one white kid, you know what I mean, in schools and on the street, everywhere. You never see where do you see? You haven't seen white people beat up black people like that since like KKK era, man. Like what?
Something of the sort, and the boy happens to be white. You will not hear about this. Blacks die of homicides 13 times the rate of white and Hispanics combined. Combined. 80% of all murders by guns in the U.S. are gang-related crime. But you can't talk about this because you're labeled a racist. If you talk about the black social breakdown or the black family breakdown, again, you're labeled a racist. I think we've forgotten that if families fall apart, or when they fall apart, police are the ones that are there keeping communities together and keeping safety on the streets. Policing matters. Law enforcement matters. Law enforcement deters criminal behavior. But the left will not acknowledge that, which is baffling. Something I find hilarious, and it's to the extent that like the New York Times, the Washington Post will never acknowledge really that there's an increase in homicides in the black community. They just won't mention it. 50 plus small little children, black children, little ones, are killed almost every year accidentally by these drive-by shootings. The only explanation in the last few years that the leftist media has come up with, the Washington Post, like CNN, MSNBC, and I remember this, they said that the increase in homicides was due to the pandemic. That somehow the lockdowns had led to the increase in homicide, which is completely phony, with the rest of the industrialized world, like Great Britain, Italy, Canada, France, Japan, pick a country, you name it, everything went down dramatically during the pandemic. But the leftist media tried to make people believe that, the lockdowns were somehow making people kill each other more. Absurd. Totally absurd.
Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. So this guy started it, and here's what he said.
Okay, first of all, this guy didn't start it. It was 3 communists, self-proclaimed communists. No, I'm not calling them communists. They are saying they are communists. They spent their entire life, okay, dedicating their life to fighting against capitalism and fighting for communism. They've done papers, they've done books, they've done interviews to magazines and newspapers, they've done podcasts, they've done anything you can name of, they've done to try to promote communism. Their entire lives they've done this. And then I say, oh, well, I'm going to, judge them on the content of their character and their actions that they've done in their life, and I'm going to say that Black Lives Matter has zero to do with black people and everything to do with communism. And then I was labeled a racist. And what's funny is the people that were labeling me a racist were saying that I was wrong because there are 3 black people who created Black Lives Matter, and the title of the organization says black in it. So therefore they are not communists. They are about black rights, and I am racist for not judging them on the color of their skin. Insanity. This is a football player. He's the one who started the movement. He didn't start it, but he set it off because now they got clout. 3 black communists are no one. This guy's a football player. So for some reason, football players are considered high on the hierarchy of our society for some stupid ass reason. It says, I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. Now, I can't tell if this guy is black or what, but most likely, I bet you $1 million he's a black guy. What's funny is, why is it to not... back in the day, you'd see black people oppressed. They'd be living in the hood, blah, blah, blah. Now all I see is rich millionaires like Oprah and Sonny whatever on, these black millionaires, these newscasters that make $10 million a year, football players that make $10 million a year. And if they're not millionaires, right, they're in college. Okay, by definition, you idiot. If you're in college, you ain't freaking oppressed, you privileged, rich, elite, motherfucking piece of shit, okay? You're not oppressed if you're in the college, you idiot, all right? Same way with these millionaires. That's all it is. I'm starting to think that the only way that a black person can be oppressed is if they're in college, being an elitist, or they have millions of dollars in the bank. That's the only way. That's their definition of being oppressed. Well, I'm white. Please oppress me with a college education and goddamn $1 million in the bank and a $10 million fucking job on a newscasting thing, or playing football, throwing a ball around. Please oppress me